Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for One Piece Chapter 1051. When we last left our heroes, the battle for Onigashima was definitively over. No more Kaido getting up, no more, setbacks, no more nothing. The fight was over. Kaido fell into a lava flow, I think, that Big Mom was also into, and which maybe killed them. I don't really care about Kaido too much, but I do hope Big Mom survived for reasons that people have been bringing up for a while. Specifically your kind of narrative ties to Elbaf, which is shortly coming soon. But yeah, that sort of was the end for them. Luffy's out, but Yamato was able to sort of stop the Beast Pirates' last bits of resistance against the Alliance victory, and we just sort of won. Everyone took a moment to breathe and celebrate, and we actually beat Kaido after all these years. But then Momo has to go into town to announce that Kaido is defeated. Everyone initially assumes that he is Kaido because he's a big giant fuck-all dragon. But then Denjiro and Hiyori come out to announce, no, Kaido is defeated and we have a new shogun, though we don't quite get to them announcing who that is. Speaking of, let's jump right on in chapter 1051, Shogun of Wano, Kozuki Momonosuke. And I will say, though, on Momo as Shogun, well, it makes sense for the story's themes and how the story's always sort of been built as a kind of, restoring the natural rulers. Momo is still mentally a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old. I forget which. I forget if he's meant to be 6 or 8, but he's still single digits. He may be, physically 26 and or 28, not and 28, 26 or 28, one of the two. But he is mentally 6 years old. Or 8. Again, don't remember which. Either way, our cover here is continuing German 66's On the Motionless Excursion, Volume 13, with Germa's Escape. Reiju and whichever of the brothers saved the other two, I think it's Ichiji who saved the other two, are escaping from the fires of this lab in Whole Cake. They're fine. I don't know what else their story is going to entail, but we'll see. Anyway, they're still sort of announcing, what's happened. There's no need to run! Stop! Huh? Apparently the big dragon wasn't Lord Kaido. Oh, this is the townspeople telling the others. Wait, there are 2 dragons? What does that mean? That's, from a thematic standpoint, that is something I'm still kind of wondering here at the end. What is, because I think briefly last week, I brought up the fact that they mistake Momo for Kaido is kind of a bad sign from a thematic standpoint. Though I did not say this was secretly going to end up being an anti-monarchy story because it's way too far into Wano to be anti-monarchy. But there are a lot of connections between Momo and Kaido. But the reveal of the sort of artificial devil fruit that Momo ate came from Kaido's DNA, right? Wasn't that what was going on there? So it does feel like there was some sort of direct connection meant there that Oda, I don't think, ever really explored. Maybe it's as simple as they both have this same kind of dragon power and they're both potential rulers of Wano, and so we see, we don't have to actually address this in particular, but we can already see through the narrative the way they sort of compare and contrast with each other. Maybe that's all it is. I don't know. Either way, what's happening in front of the castle? Why is Komurasaki here? Boss Kyoshiro, what does this mean? Because we come back to them, back to where we left off last time, and, Denjiro and Hiyori are still, walking out of the smoke. There's still a bunch of silhouettes behind them. And then I think this is Kinemon, who I guess has been healed, given when we last left him, he was near death. You two are famous, but I wonder if any here remember the rest of us. And we see the townspeople's shock. Kinemon? What? I thought he was dead! Didn't he perish in the flames of Odin Castle that fateful day? And Kinemon's back and is didn't he do this pose at the very beginning of Punk Hazard? Why is he here? Is it just a dream? Is this the afterlife? When did we die? And we see more people emerging from the shadows. We can see very clearly Inuarashi, Kawamatsu, a couple more figures that we can't quite work out who they are just from there, but it's almost certainly the 8 of the 9 scabbards. No, who cares if it's a dream or whatever? It's not just me, right? Something monumental is happening, and we do see Kawamatsu and Inuarashi clearly, though they were the ones we could already work out just in silhouette. The townspeople are running to, like, I guess announce the news. Prepare the light scrolls. We have to let all of Wano know. Hurry! And we see Raizo, who's still alive. Last we left him, I thought he kind of exploded. No, it wasn't Raizo who exploded. It was Ashiramaru? Was that his name? Was it Ashiramaru, the one who exploded fighting the one... Fuck, I forget what his name was. Something with, like, Doji was in, like, either his real name or his code name. Ashura Doji is what it was. Yeah, there we go. Ashura Doji, I think, is still maybe dead, right? Like, we haven't seen him yet, and this panel here only has Raizo, Shinobu, Kiku, who is alive, thank God, I love her, and Nekomamushi, who has... Did Nekomamushi just lose the hand, or is that an older thing? Kiku, though, unlike Kinemon, who's, like, healthy enough to, like, be walking, Kiku has to be held by Nekomamushi here. But they are alive. She's alive. Kinemon's alive. Life is good. And the town goes wild. It was them! The Akazaya 9! I thought they'd all died 20 years ago. But Lady Toki's words were true! And, like, the woman is, like, we see a woman, like, move to tears. We see... the light scrolls we'd seen in the past when Yasui died. I'd forgotten about the technology used there. But Ringo, we see them watching the arrival. Something's happened in the capital. And we can also see the little wolf thing, whose name I forgot. It was like a guardian of one of the swords. It's been so long since early Wano. So many of the details are, like, slowly coming back to me. Hakumai, does it have something to do with that earthquake? And then in Kibi, which I think was Kibi... One of these, I think, was the town that Zoro found Yasui, and they were all Smile victims, right? I thought the whole realm was going to crumble down. Or it might have been Kuri. Everyone ends up at Korra Town. They're showing the capital. Oh, no, it's Ebisu Town we're getting to next. Then we check into Udon and the prison mine. We've got more important things than that signal. The leader there is still, like, trying to hold on to power there. And then we come to Ebisu Town, where Yasui was from. There we go. I remember this now. What's this? What's going on? There's a signal coming in from the flower capital. Put on the light scroll. And then, we react to, we're back in Onigashima, where the rest of the Straw Hats are just meeting Yamato for the first time. You're Kaido's son? I'm glad, I've seen, like, so many fans over the past, especially since there was, like, some data book that came out. So many people are just, like, forcing she/her pronouns onto Yamato. And I'm glad the Straw Hats are perfectly on board with Yamato being a guy. Not big on the Kaido thing, but still. But Frankie, I think it's Brook who reacts. What? You mean there's still more fighting to do? But Yamato stops him. No, I'm not your enemy. In fact, I've been following all of your exploits in the newspaper. I have to say, I wasn't sure how many of you were actually human, but you all seem pretty normal. And someone reacts, what about your horns then? Because, like, yeah, kind of a pot calling the kettle black there. And Sanji runs by. Oh, what's he about to do? He's about to do something really bad, isn't he? Because he says, Kaido's... Or no, he just says... I thought he was going to do something really bad, like calling him Kaido's daughter... calling him Kaido's daughter. Or something that would just really rub me the wrong way. But Yamato's next line, at any rate, I'm going to be joining you on your ship. I'm Kozuki Oden, otherwise known as Yamato. Nice to meet you. So, out of all of the Wano cast, I think Yamato is the one who objectively I would most like to join the Straw Hats. Now that we're dealing with new crew members, let's take a moment to talk about that. But also, I'm not super excited about continuing to deal with, like, fans misgendering Yamato at every opportunity, because that's already annoying. And, like, it's not Yamato's fault. I don't want to, like, Yamato's a bad character because fans can be terrible sometimes. But, like, I hope that people are eventually start using his proper fucking pronouns, please. Either way, they all get kind of shocked at Yamato's announcement, specifically Nami and Usopp. What? And Frankie's just on our crew. And Brook is here for it. Yo, I'm all for it. And Sanji... Again, let's talk Sanji here. Because Sanji, especially given Sanji's timeskip storyline that we don't talk about, Sanji's the one I'm most skeptical of for all this. You know, after all of the new Kama shit, I'm like, you know, I think that in terms of trans rep, more broadly, Oda is far better in this arc than he was in the entire rest of the series. Well, I think Bentham and Ivankov are like good characters, you know, by and large. I think that, especially Ivankov's connection to the whole new Kama shit, with Sanji's just really, really bad time skip storyline, soured, you know, it's sort of thing where, like, it's not a big enough thing in One Piece that I would harp on it eternally, for its, that fucking storyline. But it was always sort of like a mark against One Piece. And I thought Kiku and Yamato's storylines have done a lot to, like, you know, show Oda's improvement in that regard, and I'm hoping he keeps that up. Because, you know, I do expect that Yamato will end up dropping the Odin name. That is my expectation. I'm really focusing on this, but I think it's also an important thing to talk about if Yamato's going to become a long-term crew member. I just realized we're only 6 pages in the chapter, and I've been here for like 10 minutes, but fuck. Carrying on. You know, I don't think that Yamato calling himself Odin is particularly healthy, but I also think we've seen in the past that Yamato's gender is not just sometimes separate from the Odin identity, but also in counterpart to it, in contrast to it. You know, we see in the Yamato flashback in the prison cave a while ago, when he had the thought, I'm not just Odin, I'm Kaido's son. The son there being not just, you know, separate from Odin, but directly in contrast to it. So I think that, like, the best reading for Yamato's character is still, you know, is a guy, but should, like, stop the Odin name, because that's not, you know, you have to be yourself and not this historical figure you want to emulate. I don't know. I can talk about Yamato for a while, but I think I'm just gonna be a little nervous here, but hopeful. Anyway, we see Robin in the background, sort of laughing. You're a funny one. And then Jinbei chimes in. It's nice of you to invite yourself aboard, but it's the captain who decides that. That's true. I hope Luffy's alright. Got the shivers watching him fight, seeing what he did. And we see both Zoro and Luffy are still unconscious, as Chopper is tending to them, not really focused on this conversation. So I guess Kinemon and Kiku were just like really easy patients then. Then Yamato notices a couple of the Beast Pirates running. Hey! Who said you could run away? One of the Beast Pirates reacts, Eep! We don't want to be slaves, young Master Yamato! But, like, I don't think Yamato's gonna go that route. Please don't go that route. And then Jinbei sort of notes, well, I don't sense any particular hostility. I guess about Yamato in general. So, and Hamlet, who I love me some Hamlet. I'm gonna miss Hamlet as this arc ends. Yeah, you goon, shut up and stay there. And we also see, like, the Gorilla Fist guy. And Usopp turns to Tama. Say, what happens with those guys? Once the moon comes back around, my jutsu will wear off. Meaning in 1 month? After a month, some animals go back the way they were. But some of them will stay my friend. I bet they choose whichever they feel more comfortable with. Which, like, I've sort of been avoiding the uncomfortable implications of Tama's ability. Because, yeah, the fact that she's brainwashing a bunch of people is, like, not great. Just in general. And, you know, given the circumstances around everything going on right now, I've sort of ignored it as a necessary maybe evil. But I do like this little explanation Oda's giving there, that, like, it is sort of, it ends up being their choice. You know, they have a month, and then at the end of the month, they sort of decide which is which, I guess. But Speed comes up and, like, picks Tama up into a hug. Master, I'm so much happier with you. Aw, I hope you stay with me too, Horselina. But not like a servant, more like a mommy. Which, again, you know, is probably for the best. Hopefully she doesn't say a servant. Anyway, she then turns up to, Speed puts her down, and Tama just says, I hope you stay with me forever. And, like, the cuteness of it, Speed has to, like, close her eyes from it. But then up on the light scroll screen, we see, I think this is, like, commentary from the capital. Look at that, Komurasaki. Oh no, this might be from from Onigashima, because I don't think any of them would call Kinemon kin. I don't know. Komurasaki and Kin's group were all kneeling. Who is that? We're finally going to see human adult Momo, aren't we? And we see, the Akazaya 8 at this point, all kneeling, as someone, we all know who, behind the smoke says, 20 years have passed since the death of my father, Kozuki Odin. Father? You mean... And Momo tells them all, I'm so glad that you have survived these long, difficult years. The fire festival is not ending. Starting tomorrow, you may do whatever business you like. And the townspeople are shocked at this. Huh? But Orochi won't... You may drink to your heart's content. You will not pay for the water from the earth. And we see all the people around Wano, listening to this announcement. No poison from factories will be allowed to spoil the land. There will be no slaves in Wano. Which, it's good that we had Tama's line before this one, and that would ring a little false. And they still haven't actually seen Momo yet, but Tama just hears him and reacts, Momo? And we see Tama has this flashback to when she was a kid. Just today at the factory, another 4 died. It's every man for himself. Who's going to tell her, the poor girl? Oh, her parents died in the factory. I don't think we knew that. Listen, Otama, this is very difficult to say, but I'm afraid your mother and father are... And we see her, at her parents' grave. Mommy, Daddy, rest in peace. I'll be okay on my own. We see her as, a child merchant selling these hats to people. Please buy a casa. Would anyone like a woven hat? Sorry, kid, no money. Would you like to buy a casa? Sorry, Kamachio, I couldn't sell any hats. We see they're, starving. Just really, really sad vibes here. And then it's Tenguyama, who gives her, a coin. I'll take 1 casa, please. And Tama's just stunned. Ah, a Tengu! But Tenguyama tells her, you're an orphan? Just bear with it. Only a few more years. Until the day that powerful samurai called the Kozuki return. And vanquish the ogres for good. I may have forgotten this, but who was Tenguyama before all this? Right? Who was he? Did he have, do we know what he was doing before, in the Wano, in, the Kozuki ancestry? Because, I'm glancing through the past section of his wiki article, and it says that Odin entrusted his sword to Tengu, but it's a little unclear how was Tengu prominent enough that he would both know Toki's prediction, or I guess everyone knew Toki's prediction, but that he would have such faith in Toki's prediction. I don't remember, because he's just sort of been in the background most of the time. But Tama takes this to heart. Kozuki? Is it true? I'll bear with it then. I'll be okay. And Tama goes to hug Nami. Just overwhelmed that what Tengu said finally came true. Speed, I think, is a little hurt that she went to Nami and not her. Oh, Tama? Tama. I think this is Luffy's line from the very beginning of the arc, as Tama just, weeps into Nami. We'll make it so this is normal. By the time we leave this country, it'll be a place where you can eat as much as you want. Every single day. Which, of course, loops that's the theme that's looped all of this arc together. As we saw from that initial line, all the way to Luffy's declaration to Kaido at the end of the arc. Anyway, back on the screen, Momo goes on, Orochi's wicked rule and the threat of Kaido are gone for good. We found strong, faithful companions at sea, and as part of the Ninja Pirate Mink Samurai Alliance, we led a raid upon Onigashima. Onigashima. Kaido, Orochi, the Beast Pirates. Every evil that plagues our land has been vanquished. What? We still have not seen Momo's face at this point, by the way. And the crowd is just stunned. What? They beat those monsters? The horrible Orochi is no more? And we cut to Kid, who I don't think has heard the name of the Alliance yet, given that it was named Zo. I'm not sure he'd know. But he's just like, the what Alliance? And the crowd is all just cheering, yeah! And we see Beppo, putting Law's coat on him. Real cute shit there. We see Carrot tearing up. And we will never forget the sacrifices of those brave souls who paved the way for this raid. And then we see Toko, to remind us of Yasui, of course. And then he sort of whispers to Kinemon, Kinemon, I've run out of things to say. What do I do now? And it's given thought bubbles, but I feel like it's whispering, because Kinemon responds, just keep going. Bluff your heart out. And we see, this might be like right after Momo aged up, because it's clearly an older face, but I don't think we've seen this conversation before. What are you, Momo? Just a figurehead? Is there a single thing left in the world to be scared of? As the crowd continues to cheer, not really noticing the pause, Momo sort of stutters out, My father gave me a name that means invincible. Under my rule, this parched and ruined land will turn into a paradise on earth. Lend me your strength, and let us work towards this end together. I have traveled 20 years to save you all. From this day on. And we see him as an adult for the first time. Clearly has not had a haircut in 20 years. I, Kozuki Momonosuke, will lead the land of Wano. And, you know, despite my misgivings about giving a child the throne, it's hard to deny that moment fucking hits. Nekomamushi's moved to tears. Kiku tears up a little bit, but like Neko is just weeping. Kawamatsu and Hiyori and Denjiro all crying. As is Kinemon, the crowd cheers, Mother, I will keep my promise. Father, I will follow in your footsteps. And then I think this might be in the Skull Dome, because the next few panels are all in the Skull Dome. As they're all people like crying, Lord Momonosuke. We see Sanji giving his little like, you know, smug smirk. Yamato and Frankie are cheering. I love Nami here, just like clinging on to Tama, as Tama's clinging on to her. Nami's got this big old grin as you know, Tama cries these like tears of joy. Momo just stares sternly ahead. The true shogunate has returned at last. We've been awaiting you for so long, Lord Momonosuke! And then we see the narrator comes in. And when the warrior at last sheathed his blade, the sky of the day to come, the sky of the day to come danced with spinning, fluttering petals. This is the land of samurai. Here, under the night blossoms, stands a handsome man of 8. Yeah. And it does look like Hiyori has maybe realized that and is kind of holding back laughter. Blessed with great dedication and mercy, and a level of strength that can be forgiven. And she goes to like give her brother a hug after all this time. This is the birth of the man who would later be known around the world as the great shogun of Wano, Kozuki Momonosuke. And Kozuki and Momonosuke and his retainers all go to enter the castle. To be continued. Okay. So this does feel a little bit like even more, we're in for a long epilogue, I think it's safe to say. I don't think there's going to be an epilogue that ends this month. I think we have several chapters of Wano epiloguing to go. But it's really good. It's good. You know, just again, despite my misgivings of Momo being an 8-year-old child on the throne of Wano, it just feels good. You know, my overall take from this chapter is a lot of this is kind of the same as my take from last chapter. It's just really, it feels good for Wano to be ending. After all this time fighting Kaido, with Kaido, you know, Kaido's been the looming threat since Punk Hazard, and the immediate threat since like 2018. And it's just good. It's just good to like have this be finished. That like to see Wano end, to see Wano saved, Wano potentially restored to its glory. You know, my personal real world anti-monarchist sympathies make me a little bit hard to fully support anything that involves the rightful king coming to the throne. But you know, that's my own personal thing. That's not really Wano's fault. But it just feels good. Everyone's okay. You know, it's One Piece, and you know, if you don't see if someone is near death, they're going to be fine. That's the One Piece way. But it's still good to see Kinemon and Kiku and you know, Luffy and Zoro are always going to be fine. But Kinemon and Kiku especially are like gonna make it. They're not just gonna make it. They have made it. And that's just, it's just nice. It's nice to see everything work out. I tentatively like the Yamato stuff. Again, I'm hoping, you know, Sanji's still going all hard eyes for him. We'll see how Oda ends up handling that. If we hadn't had the Kiku storyline, I'd be very nervous, right? If Kiku was not like a main character whose gender is consistently affirmed by the entire cast, I'd be very, very nervous how Oda plans to handle this. But I'm hopeful. Sanji's really the one I'm nervous for. Everyone else seems perfectly okay with the sun identity. And Sanji hasn't made a deal about the sun identity, the masculine identity yet, as he's too focused on his body, I guess. But I don't know. That sort of all remain. You know, I'm in conclusion for the Yamato stuff, because I went on a long rant about that earlier in the video. In conclusion, I'm going to remain cautiously optimistic until Oda disappoints me. And then I love the stuff we get with Tama. Both her like flashback of her, you know, the hope she's held on to for a better future now finally arrived. You know, Tama was the figure we kind of started this arc with. It's nice to circle back to her at the very end. Also, I do love the explanation. You know, I think the explanation about how her powers work is vital. It was long. I think it's kind of long overdue when she started using it on people. But, you know, it's nice just to have it at this point. And then, yeah, Momo is here. Momo is the new Shogun. And supposedly, according to the narrator, this will be the beginning of a great boon for Wano. Though also, you know, calling back to last chapter's I don't want to open the borders yet, the fact that the narrator tells us in the last panel, you know, that Momo will be known around the world, does imply that at some point he will open those borders, which was implied by the word yet. And so there still is the lingering mystery of what is Momo waiting for. I don't know when. I imagine he'll end up revealing that to Luffy before Luffy leaves. But I don't know. For now, just continue the celebration. Everything is good. Everything is working out. For once, after all this, not for once, but after all this time, things are really working. Things are going good. You know, Wano is free. Wano is fucking free. And I'm going to keep on saying that until we leave Wano and it's not relevant anymore. But it just feels good to say. So with that said, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe or, you know, do whatever makes you happy, you know? And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!